So let's.
Okay, we are starting. So hello, everyone. Hi, Andrew.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. As you see here from the background, no, here.
Yeah.
Mobility Moves Minds is live now, right? So we have here the
Your book
edition, the red dot edition, talks about design, right? And
Excellent.
for English, the yellow one. So
exactly.
Talks about, well, the red one, I talk about it as being attentive, so the red,
Yeah.
but it's not like traffic light red. And this one here, the yellow, is really about impulsive, but also, let's say, comforting. So that's about the color code. So
Beautiful.
We are partnering with you, Homeless Entrepreneur, right? So the entire crew, the entire team of the contributors for Mobility Moves Minds. So for our audience, we have more than 20 individuals and companies. And we are very proud of them that they really participated in making not only the book happening, but actually also a global study about resilience from an individual point of view, but also from a corporate and entrepreneurial point of view. And herein, I mean, the individual resilience is, of course, also touching our heart with homelessness. It's also touching our heart about what is our, let's say, what is our future path, right? How can we grow into becoming entrepreneurs? So let's make a little bit of a game. So I say mobility, and you.
Okay. And I say everybody needs to move. When we talk about mobility, you can think about physical mobility. You can think about intellectual mobility. I mean, mobility moves minds. You have to think about the intellectual aspect and realm, and social mobility as well. So when I hear the word mobility, I think of social mobility. I think about transportation. I think about the opportunity to move in the world we live in the way we want to. So to have the autonomy to move freely within a framework that makes us happy and healthy. So when I think mobility, I think of opportunities to move, to improve one's life, and also to move the way one wants to, and also to learn how we do that. Because everybody, since we start as babies, we can't move. We need support. We need complete support from mobility. Then we start falling, and we learn. So we learn by failing, and it's not a failure, but it's something that's an experience to learn. And I think mobility is a great word in that sense. What comes to mind when you think about mobility?
When I think about mobility, I think about physical mobility, because everyone has a right to move, to be free, also to move around. I think about the cognitive flexibility or mental mobility, how I call it, to really ideate, dream about it, design scenarios, to really have this capacity and make use of it, to ideate things, future solutions for us, but also for companies and for cities and rural areas. Because if we're not able to ideate, if we're not able to make use of our creative side of the brain, right, then we just come back to the same old solutions, and we are not growing. And the third part of mobility to me is digital mobility. So because that makes very small companies and initiatives big, because we don't have to worry about physical movements, we can do it digitally. So, and this is actually for me one of the key growth patterns for small and medium-sized businesses, but also for initiatives and organizations like yours to actually grow in the digital mobility front.
Well, it's interesting because when you mentioned the last part about mobility, it also got me to think about inspiration, because mobility inspires you as well. So the more you're able to move around, the more you're able to learn, and you're inspired, and then how you can bring that back to help your community. So not at first, but after listening to you, I would say mobility also leads to inspiration, because the more you're able to move around, the more you're able to learn and grow. So that's interesting. So I'll shoot a word out there for you then. You said mobility, I'll say resilience.
Oh, resilience. Resilience is, let's say, a term that is, I don't know, as wide as that, right? And for some, it's very small because they acquaint mindfulness, they acquaint an esoteric, let's say, like a yoga session with in the surroundings of resilience. From a psychological point of view, resilience means that we are overcoming a negative event, an obstacle, and not only learning about it, also accepting it, and actually also designing, let's say, a new pathway, right? So it's about overcoming and learning and growing and continuing. So not giving in, for example. It has various different aspects because you find resilience not only in people's minds, right? And behavior. I talk about resilience, it's being the resilient product. How resilient is a product? And then we come to obsolescence. We come to the point that products are, let's say, by intention, will be broken or break after 2 years because the consumers should purchase something new, right? We talk about resilient cities. I mean, how close are cities there to collapse? But actually, it reminds me of a note I got the other day where someone said, "Oh, resilience, please stop talking about it. It's so esoteric. It will not move anything. It will not inspire me. It's just a term, you know." And that's, of course, something we like to, how the book is being structured, we really like to get over that, to look into what it really means to get into action. Resilience means you act and you're not just waiting.
Well, when you talk about products, you have to also think about design, right? And the products are designed by people. So the design and the resilience in the design, I suppose there's a part that's done on purpose, and then maybe another part that's haphazard, if you will. It just kind of takes place. So I think it's interesting to think about how much we control the situation, how resilient we can be, and what kind of resilience we have to deal with at the same time. And as you probably heard in the background, there are ambulances, right? So I think when I think about resilience, I think about survival. But there are two things. One thing is surviving, and another thing is thriving.
Yes.
And so we think about thriving. So some people can think about surviving when they think about resilience, and other people can think about striving. So from my perspective, and when I think about resilience, I think about how to turn obstacles into opportunities and to learn more about our community and our environment and grow. So I'm going to have to go with resilience leads to growth.
Yes.
Your turn. What word would you use?
Entrepreneurship.
Okay, entrepreneurship. I think of homeless entrepreneur.
Yes.
I think about the spirit of wanting to improve our ecosystem, products, services, designs, communities. Entrepreneurship for me is more of a mentality. So entrepreneurial mindset. An entrepreneur for me is always destined to fail many, many times because they're focusing on the unknown. So it's not the person that's doing the same thing over and over and over again, but the person is, how do we get out of the rat race? Or how do we create a new one, depending on the design and intentions? But I think entrepreneurship gives us an opportunity to inspire the social economic aspect of what we're doing. What does entrepreneurship mean to you?
A lot. It means, let's say, the opposite of conservatism. It means the opposite of, let's say purely 100% traditional habits, because it's about tackling two unknown areas. So looking for companies into how to grow into new markets that ask for an entrepreneurial mindset. It looks into trying and testing and failing and redoing it. It also talks about a proof point. I think at a certain point in time, you like to have a proof point where you say, okay, we experienced this. So how do we measure what we did so far and what can we actually do to improve it? Maybe we have to adjust it. And this is again the resilient mindset. It says, okay, yes, there was an obstacle. So let's take it as a, let's say, as a stepstone, but not as a hurdle, right? Or as a wall let's say, that pings you back and actually makes you rather moving away from the idea or the product or the service you have been testing. Yeah.
Okay, so we have mobility, resilience, and entrepreneurship. So I think the best way to end would be to give one good reason why someone should buy your new book, Mobility Moves Minds.
One good reason is it really captures in a very, let's say, unique way the evolution of looking into a person's resilience, because we have the 17 life stories, and then taking that over into the entrepreneurial and corporate mindset. So it actually, you find yourself as a reader traveling from these individual positions of these individual authors, co-authors, and the stories we tell, up to the point you find yourself at the end designing your own, let's say, future option, right? So you're looking then into what could I do as a corporate leader, as an innovator, as a strategist, as a product designer, service designer differently. And that's a very unique format. And at the end, it's also, of course, fun because it has a design approach. So it's not a very, let's say, classic, boring business book. It's really about looking into this evolutionary part, and it helps you to grow there. And that's why readers should.
Well, I would also just like to thank you and remind the audience that 20% of what's used to purchase the book helps us end homelessness for homeless entrepreneurs, which we are very grateful for. And for us, it's an amazing example of showing how corporate social responsibility should be used instead of just speaking about it. So there's no greenwashing because it's a blue book. So just want to thank you for that. And I would recommend the book to everyone. Actually, we got to know each other because I read one of your previous books and I was brave enough to write the author. So I would just like to say I'm very grateful for the relationship that we've been able to create because of it, and how it really shows that actions really show what we want to do with Mobility Moves Minds, all the words, but how we can then put that into practice in our day-to-day life. So that way we can create healthier businesses and healthier societies. So I hope everyone buys your book, and then we'll put the information in the link below the video so they can do that.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. That's very great last words. Take care. Bye.
Have a wonderful day. Cheers.
Ciao.
Ciao.